means clean up room, and then they can do it. They know what it means. So, but you do the building from the bottom up. And lots of times when you're arguing with someone that you live with and hypothetically love, although those two things are hard to get together in the same relationship, what you want to do is assume stupidity before you assume total malevolence. That's a good rule of thumb for establishing peace. So maybe if your partner won't do something, well, maybe there's something going on up here, but you might want to assume to begin with that they actually just don't know how to do it, and you need to decompose it. So maybe there's a way you want to be greeted when you come home, because you're going to come home every day probably, and maybe that's a 5-minute interaction or a 10-minute interaction. So that's an hour a week or 4 hours a month or 50 hours a year or one solid work week of coming home interactions, right? All you have to do is get 50 interactions like that right, and you've got your relationship sorted out. That's something that's really worth thinking about, because that's it. You just don't have that much time, right? Get the meals sorted out. That's about 5 hours a day. Get your sleeping time arrangements sorted out. Get the fundamental interactions that you repeat with your partner worked out voluntarily and negotiated. You're going to cover 80% of your life that way, and then it can just run as a routine. And that's really helpful. And if you don't do that consciously, especially because our roles have fragmented and most of the traditional roles have disappeared, and so nobody knows who the hell is supposed to do what in the kitchen, for example. So nobody does anything except bitch and fight and make wretched meals or buy fast food or something like that. So, you know, the alternative to that catastrophic failure or continual resentment and fighting is to rebuild the structures from the bottom up using consensus and negotiation. And you can do that. So you can think of that as the patriarchal structure.